President Trump has reportedly fired NSA Director Timothy Hawk. Hawk also heads the U.S. Cyber Command, which is the military cyber unit. The NSA civilian deputy director, Wendy Noble, was also reportedly let go. The reason for their reported dismissals is unclear. U.S. District Judge James Boasberg is now threatening to hold the Trump administration in contempt as the legal battle over the president's deportation flights heats up.
Madeline Rivera live in Washington with the details. Hey, Maddie.
Good morning, Carly and Todd. Federal Judge James Boasberg is looking into whether there is probable cause to move forward with contempt proceedings. Boasberg says it appears to him that the government acted in bad faith, adding it would not have operated the way it did if it believed everything it was doing was legal. He pressed Trump administration lawyers about who they told about his orders, and he also called the administration's decision to use state secrets privilege to withhold certain information sketchy, given that some of the materials don't appear to be classified. Boasberg says he could issue a decision as early as next week on how to proceed, but Vice President J.D. Vance says he believes the administration will prevail.
The radical courts are a problem, but our view here is we knew we were going to have this fight. We were prepared for it. We're going to litigate it all the way to the Supreme Court. We think that we're going to win. And when we do win, that will end this question permanently. Think about this. The Democrats, they're spending so many resources fighting the deportation of gang members. You have to ask, where are their priorities?
Meantime, another lawsuit is brewing over an executive order the president signed last week on election reforms. The president argues the overhaul is necessary to protect the integrity of elections, but 19 Democratic-led states argue the order is unconstitutional and un-American, adding it intrudes on the state's authority to run their own elections. This is now the fourth lawsuit challenging the executive order.
You like Huey Lewis in the news?
They're okay.
He's been compared to Elvis Costello, but I think Huey has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humor.
Okay, that's a very violent take on a very violent subject. The war hawks down bad right now. Globalists, actually, down bad right now. The entire financial system down bad right now, and that's a good thing. We're going to talk about it today for Free for All Friday, April 4th, 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, fresh off the plane from Washington, D.C., we'll detail our day at the DOJ with Steve Bannon and Mike Davis and Julie Kelly and Miranda Devine, and none of us were in handcuffs. That's right, as Donald Trump purged deep state actors from across the street at the White House. New job reports shatters expectations. Trump's economy is roaring. Don't let the haters get you down. No, I mean it. Like, we're going to describe exactly what the resetting of the table looks like and the wealth transfer from the elites to the middle class and to the working class here in this country. As first president ever in our lifetime to actually follow through on that promise. Every president in my lifetime has said that they're going to bring back manufacturing jobs, said that they're going to support the middle class, said that they're going to support working class and blue-collar Americans, and every single president has sold you out and robbed you blind so that someone in Vietnam can get a factory job for 10 cents a day. And so that practice ends now. We're going to detail all of it. We've done a ton of research so that we can explain these things in a way that makes sense to us, and so hopefully it makes sense to you. Corey Lewandowski will be joining our program along with Tommy Tuberville and Congressman Jeff Crank. First time on the show. It's going to be a wild and rocking show. Let's go. My name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. We just redid our backyard. We don't have a big house, and we don't have a big backyard. We live here in Tampa. We live close to the studio. I want to be close to a studio and close to an airport so that we can do trips like we did yesterday, just kind of like turn it around, right? I wanted to live in close where my wife would have lots of room to like walk with the kids and go to parks and things like that. And it just makes it easier to do business here. Someday, will we move out to the middle of a mountainside? Yeah, definitely, for sure. Guaranteed. We will be getting like a farm in the middle of nowhere at some point. But right now, for the way that our lives are, this is where we live. And so the space that we have in our backyard, while I grew up like on a farm, like I think many people in this country like grow up kind of in the middle of nowhere on like a larger property. It's a glorious country, and having a yard is actually an American privilege. Go to other countries. They don't have yards, right? People don't have yards. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have a teeny little yard in our backyard, and now we have some beautiful trees in it thanks to fast-growing trees. Fast Growing Trees is an incredible company. It's an online nursery, and it helps thousands of Americans get trees and get plants. It's obviously good for the soul. It's good for the spirit to have something growing, right? We are all growing. It's wonderful to be surrounded by green. They have all the plants that your yard could possibly need. They have fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs. We have 2 of those actually in our backyard. Whatever plants you're interested in, Fast Growing Trees has you covered. Find the perfect fit for your climate and space. Fast Growing Trees makes it easy to get your dream yard. They certainly did for us. Their Alive and Thrive guarantee ensures that your plants will be ready, healthy, and happy to plant right into the ground, and then you can get online experts to help you out. They know exactly what should be planted where you live. This is a moment where, frankly, we want to invest in American companies and American growers and American farmers. We're going to talk a lot about that on the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, Fast Growing Trees is the company for you. Make sure that you lock in. Now is the perfect time to save. Go to fastgrowingtrees.com using the code Benny at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code Benny. Now is the perfect time to plant. Use Benny to save today. Offer, ladies and gentlemen, is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. Go to fastgrowingtrees.com for details. Okay. Yesterday we were at the DOJ. It was really fun. We had a panel on internet censorship. The panel looked like this. Had a lot of this is us in us in the inside of the deep state. You'll recognize some of the faces here. Let's just go through them, Klein. Actually, every photo you had up there is perfect, Klein. So this is the panel. You have Miranda Devine, Julie Kelly, Steve Bannon. It's kind of like an episode of the Benny Show, honestly. It's like this could be like the full show. In fact, like lined up and there on stage. We were talking internet censorship, and we were talking about antitrust and how the left has used their corporatist power and their deep state power in order to censor and to kill our platforms, to demonetize, to silence. Here's Miranda Devine standing there in front of the Donald Trump and J.D. Vance portraits. Miranda Devine, of course, the reporter at the New York Post who broke the Hunter Biden laptop story. The DOJ knew Hunter Biden's laptop was real. The FBI knew Hunter Biden's laptop was real and authenticated. Here we are in the building, and, well, they tried to cancel her. They literally made it impossible to share her story. And so it is a very much a barbarians at the gate moment, a conquest moment for us. Brendan Carr there as well, the director of the FCC. And here we are, Steve Bannon and Mike Davis and I, and not a single one of us in handcuffs. Really remarkable that all of us are standing there as guests of the DOJ and not as prisoners of the DOJ. Yeah. So that was the nature of the talk yesterday. MSNBC losing their damn minds. MSNBC was raging about this. Play this clip because it's fun. Know us by our enemies, and then we'll describe just one more little important note here.
Appreciated that. But she is
Are they friends?
Didn't seem like it. She's a crazy person, and anybody who doesn't believe it could just Google Laura Loomer crazy or just look at her X feed if they wanted to get a sense for this. The fact that she is in the White House talking to the president saying you should fire people who are in charge of national security. And he apparently said, okay, Laura, great, and fired a couple of people who are in his National Security Council or support the National Security Advisor. And that's how the country is being run. And we have a Fox and Friends weekend host that is running the military, so it shouldn't be that surprising. But I think that it is really just important to marinate on that the people with power in the White House or outside the White House are these extreme fringe conspiracy theorists that have big followers online, and that they can dictate who is in charge of our country's security, your family's security. And just on this point, one other thing, over at the DOJ today, they had a briefing at the Department of Justice, and it was Bannon, Benny Johnson, and it was just a whole rogues gallery of Loomer-esque weirdos that were having a briefing at the DOJ about the politicization of our government. So, Justice Department, national security decisions are being decided by MAGA conspiracy bloggers.
So this dude who crashed out working for Jeb Bush when he was running for president. Remember Jeb with the exclamation point? Remember, please clap. This guy's name is Tim Miller. not Tim Dillon in the script, ALX. You had me excited there. I thought this would be a Tim Dillon clip. No, it's a Tim Miller clip, sadly. Tim Miller is a guy who's a complete sleazebag. He's regularly slinking and schlepping around Turning Point events and various MAGA rallies around the country. You always see him there lurking like a little cockroach and a snake and a bug, rat, like crawling and scurrying around, begging to have people like myself or Laura Loomer or Steve Bannon take him around, right? He's regularly following me around at these events. These people are absolute cretins, and they're in panic, and they're in panic for a specific reason. One, he calls us a weirdo. Dude, I'm not on national TV wearing puka shell necklace, like wearing like your grandmother's pearls. So I don't, whatever's wrong with this guy, I think it goes a lot deeper. Again, imagine tying your ship to Jeb Bush in 2016. Imagine that being like your big thing that you did with your life. Obviously, that's going to lead to mental issues. Obviously, that's going to put you in a place where you're going to want to wear puka shell necklace on MSNBC and complain and bitch and moan and cry and whine and then slink around our events trying to write hit pieces on us. The reason why I never engage with these people, and the reason why I'm laughing my ass off at that clip, and we're going to talk about Laura Loomer and her work with the White House here in a moment. But what's happening here on two different fronts, but I guess on the entire global front, is a complete and total resetting of the world as we know it. MSNBC is sitting there on the outside, complaining and screaming, raging at the sun, and they have no power. There was a time when an MSNBC segment could like put your career down. But now they're the ones on the outside looking in. And it's us who are advising on policy, in fact. It's me and Bannon and Mike. Here we go. These are the people inside of the DOJ that are bringing forth the policy on what should happen in antitrust with Google and Facebook. It used to be them dictating what was allowed. And it's a particularly glorious moment because you are beginning to see, whether it's on the economy with these trade tariffs and Donald Trump totally resetting the global order, or whether it's with us at the DOJ, you're beginning to see a total remaking of the world based on reality. And the reality is that we have an actual audience. MSNBC doesn't. Nobody knows who Tim Miller is. Nobody cares. Sure, maybe he gets an award from the Kennedy Center. Maybe he's invited to all the right cocktail parties after the White House Correspondents Association dinner. Nobody cares. Show me your audience. Show me your real world effect that you are having. I can show you actual effects that Julie Kelly had. Let's look at this picture for just a second. I just want to not miss this point. Here's Julie Kelly. Julie Kelly, I can tell you this, she won't say it, but I can tell you Julie Kelly is personally responsible for thousands of pardons that were given to January 6 political prisoners. Julie Kelly was able to undo millions of hours of demonic man-hour work from inside of the DOJ, the building upon which we are standing right there. Julie Kelly personally did that. Mike Davis has sent, obviously, chills down the spines of many of these left-wing prosecutors and has personally advised on who to fire and where the rats are inside of the system. You can see Mike Davis standing there, Miranda Devine, one of the only journalists, in fact, dare I say, the most important investigative journalist in the country over the last 5 years, because Miranda's work was so monumental, even though Joe Biden was able to rig himself into office in 2020, and we all know how nasty and awful that election was. Miranda Devine's work set the table for the destruction of the Biden family in office. Constant investigations, ongoing toil, horrors, and embarrassments for the Bidens, ongoing lawsuits. It was like this pernicious, nipping, yapping dog that would have never been possible without Miranda Devine. Miranda Devine and her reporting got us the 51 intel experts, and that put a mark on who President Trump should take out. He stripped these people of their national security clearances. He stripped these people of their ability to make money. He's made them anathema, a black spot, and now they're fleeing D.C. Of course, Steve Bannon. What else can you possibly say about Steve Bannon? The man actually literally took a bullet All right, fine. Trump literally took a bullet. But Steve Bannon, in every way possible, took a bullet for the movement, was put on trial in New York. To my understanding, they're like still trying to put the guy away. He was held in contempt by Nancy Pelosi. And because of Steve Bannon's rock-ribbed iron spine, and the very building that we're standing in right there, the DOJ, you go back to the panel shot, please? Because it's like so cool. You have like the entire DOJ logo and everything behind us. It's amazing. Look at this. I mean, and the room was packed. It was really fun. Look at that. It's a conquest. We drink your milkshake. We storm the ramparts. We will take over your church and desecrate your idols, your pagan idols. Time to repent. Because of Steve Bannon and the work that Steve Bannon has done, where the building that we're in right now wanted to and did put Steve Bannon in handcuffs. Steve Bannon was in handcuffs. The DOJ decided to prosecute him for refusing to comply with Nancy Pelosi's subpoena. Now, because of that bravery, there is a absolute, verified, ironclad path for Republicans to subpoena deep staters, the Biden family, and so on. And if they defy the subpoenas, we put them in prison. This is what they did to Bannon. And one more little word about Tim Miller and about MSNBC bitching and freaking out about us yesterday. Know us by our enemies. They have, what is wrong with this guy in the puka shell necklace? Know us by our enemies. Seriously, what grown man? Dude, you're like pushing 50. And you're dressed like you are trying to be a player in Tony Hawk Skater. It's really embarrassing. Grow up, man. Become an adult. But they don't have to, actually, because they live in a non-real world. They live in a totally astroturfed, inauthentic, fake world that's collapsing. MSNBC, which platforms this guy, is being sold for pennies. It's being stripped away. It has no viewers, no ratings. They've been proven total frauds. They're firing hosts left and right, slashing their salaries. Why? Because they're not real. We're building something real right here. We're building something real on this program, and they hate it. And that's what I was there at the DOJ yesterday. I thank you. We took the day off, obviously, the show. That's what we were there to defend. Because now that we've seen a little bit of aggressive action, now that we've taken some territory, we have to defend it. And so we're going to be doing a lot of this and a lot of fighting to ensure that we can have independent voices in this country. Now, I found it particularly upsetting and irritating that as we were sitting there talking about the censorship industrial complex, Elvis Chan, upon which we did our entire show on Wednesday, is still employed across the street at the FBI. He's the guy responsible for censoring all of us. These mongoloids, these people like Tim Miller and MSNBC, these guys, they can't exist without censors on social media doing their dirty work for them. Because in a fair fight, we win every single time. Our audiences are real and authentic. Our movement is actually strong, powerful, and culturally relevant. They are irrelevant. And so they must have referees that rig the game in their favor to stay in business. Whether that's forking over millions of dollars of USAID money to our competitors like at Politico, or whether that's stripping our show of monetization and reach and the capacity to grow online, which is what they did, or it's just straight up taking ALX offline, which I talked about yesterday. ALX shared the wrong meme, and so they took our beloved executive producer ALX, all the chat knows, the great ALX. They took him on. They deleted him from the internet. That's the power of these people and their evil monopolistic tyrannies. And so this is what we were doing yesterday. This is what we were fighting yesterday. One final note, and then we'll move on. This is as American as apple pie. It's as American as tariffs. It's as American as having zero income tax, which is something that I'm also going to start pushing for. Oh, you got to put that up. Look at Brendan Carr. This is your FCC director here with his golden Trump pin. It's a golden Trump. Look at the pin he was wearing yesterday. Come on, man. All right. Golden era. Over half of the founders were publishers. They had their own independent media outlets. Half the founding fathers of this country were either directly publishers or owned portions of newspapers, pamphlets, and so on. It was all independent and fractured. There wasn't some big corporate conglomerate. It was knit together by the freedom of speech and the freedom of press. That's, of course, in our First Amendment. It's first for a reason. The reason it's all the way up there was because King George tried to stop them. Tried to stop them from memeing, tried to stop them from political cartoons, tried to stop them from, like, printing the free press, and from being able to, like, you know, start up a YouTube channel back in the day, right? Obviously, it's the same principles, just accelerated through by technology. It's the exact same. And we had this woven into our society. This is, like, very, very American for us to have independent audiences and for us to be able to, like, speak, meme, ridicule our leaders. That is deeply and richly American. And if we don't practice it, we'll lose it. That's what this show is all about. That's what the founders were all about. And there's this incredible resetting of the table where guys like Joe Rogan are more powerful than MSNBC, Fox News, and CNN combined. It's just a matter of fact. He just gets more views. And that President Trump, instead of going and groveling on C-SPAN, President Trump went to Theo Von and Andrew Schultz's podcast and, like, NFL podcasts, totally apolitical podcasts, actually, and cultural. And President Trump won in all of those arenas. And then he won the presidency. And then they realized, like, we've totally lost the plot. We've totally lost control. And that's how important this it is fragile right now, very fragile, but robustly growing movement is. Go to a college campus, touch grass, ask a young person, like, where they get their news. They'll tell you YouTube, or they'll tell you TikTok, or they'll tell you, like, they will not say MSNBC. I promise you. You can go to UC Boulder, you can go to Berkeley, and even those libs won't say MSNBC. They'll say independent creators. And so that's what they're trying to destroy. They're trying to destroy that lack of control because they can't do it. So they send Puka Shell Necklace Dude, you know, on MSNBC to try and, like, slander us, but it doesn't work. All it does is validate that we are over the target. All right? All right. That's what we were doing yesterday. Thank you for allowing me to sort of talk through why it was so important to go to DC and why it's such an honor. We're going to keep working, obviously, with the DOJ on this. I want to talk about these tariffs because I think that they're, you know, obviously the stock market is taking a big dunk and a big dive right now. I have actually a really important graphic I'm going to send to you, Klein, I want to put up. And that bothers people, right? It's like something that has upset quite a few people and is leading to bad headlines. And so I want to, like, first off, I want to put it in perspective, okay? So here, pop that up as fast as possible. Here we go. Thanks. Sorry, I didn't send this to Klein beforehand. Let's just put this in perspective, please. Here's your stock market crash, okay? This is what your crash looks like. Yeah, please, let's just have, like, can we please have some reality? Can we please have a reality check here? Like, going down 2 or 3% in your portfolio, calm down, okay? Like, everyone calm down. Do you know that 96% of the stocks in America are owned by only 8% of the population? The vast majority of this chart is making the 1% of the 1% filthy rich. Most people are being left behind. I'm not arguing for a crash in the stock market. I'm saying let's put this in perspective. And I am going to be a very muscular advocate for the reinvigoration of the working class in America and ensuring that my children and your children have a future to actually have jobs, careers, and life in this country. If you travel through the middle of the country, the Rust Belt or the Midwest, you'll see how hollowed out it all is. You'll see how there is just nothing being built. You'll see how it's just a figment of days gone by. And it'll break your heart, actually. And what we've done is we've traded this chart for towns in West Virginia and in Iowa and in Indiana and the prosperity of those towns. We've shipped everything overseas so that this chart can tick up, ting, 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 just a little bit. Remember, 8% of the country owns 96% of the stocks. This is not something that is making the vast majority of Americans wealthy. In fact, it is actually hollowing out and becoming a massive us having total free and open trade in this country and having no barriers to entry, and having in fact massive incentives to offshore all of our industry and manufacturing. A total and complete fire sale by our sickening globalist leaders post-World War II has led to abject and complete destruction. And you should unfollow, I never do this, but you should unfollow creators on the right who claim to be, for freedom, who are sitting there advocating against this right now. Every president in our lifetime told us that they would fight for the working class, and not a single one of them did. They continued to pump our money, our treasure, our capital, and more importantly, like our socioeconomic fabric. The little quaint American town of Norman Rockwell painting, that doesn't exist anymore. You know where it does exist? China and Vietnam. So that peasants there can make $1 a day. And where does that dollar go to? Buying American debt. And American debt is atrocious. It's $38 trillion. It is the biggest threat to our nation. And it happens because we don't build anything. And because we don't have any... No, you're fine. Because we don't have any capacity to manufacture, create, or build here. And so President Trump, and while I'm not, don't let me do your taxes. You go to prison. Like, I'm not an economic expert. What President Trump is doing with these tariffs, with the announcement of these tariffs, and we were live for it, what President Trump is doing is he's redoing the mortgage on the home. And this is the best way that I've been able, as I've been trying to synthesize this information, this is the best way that I can explain it. Most people have a mortgage, and the vast majority of people have even the concept of a mortgage. We have very young companies. Some people at this company don't have homes, right? Some people at this company are buying homes right now, right? Everybody who works at this company generally is in their 20s, right? They're trying to get their start in the American dream. This is like refinancing your house. You can think about it that way. Let's say you locked in a mortgage at an atrocious 20% mortgage rate. So you're spending double the price of the home just to pay off the mortgage, right? Because you don't have the money. We do this every single year as a country. What President Trump is trying to do is get that mortgage rate down. Now, this gets a little complicated because it has to do with 10-year Treasury bonds and the cost of the interest on those bonds for the federal government. But this is one way that companies and countries actually invest in America, is by buying American bonds, by betting on American futures. The lower the cost of that debt, the faster America can actually begin to pay off its debt. It's like lowering the mortgage on your home. You owe all of this money on your home. It costs you this amount of money to borrow that money, right? That's your mortgage rate. My mortgage rate, because I bought a house in 2021, is 3%. But a lot of people buying houses right now, it's 7 or 8%. And back in the 1980s, the mortgage rates were 20%. So it's like buying in an atrocious mortgage rate and being able to negotiate down. And this is ultimately the play that President Trump is making. These tariffs incentivize investment in this country, incentivize products being made here. They incentivize balanced trade with partners who don't completely F us over. Good example is there's a 15% tariff on every American car sold in Europe. There's a 2% tariff on every European car sold in America. That's why when you go to Europe, you will literally see 0 American cars being sold there. 0. You'll see there's no such thing as an American car dealership in Europe. It doesn't exist. But there's unlimited numbers of Japanese and Korean and European car dealerships here in this country. Why is that? That seems very bad actually for us and our people. That doesn't make any sense. We have great car companies here. What's going on? That's just a perfect example of the imbalance there. So is Trump resetting the mortgage on our house, balancing out our national debt, making our national debt much easier to pay off. Trump, if he actually, and now I'll ask for you to put this chart back up, if he's actually able to pull this off, there's going to be a hit in the stock market, but eventually the thing's going to actually roar. What's happening is the greatest redistribution of wealth from the elites to the middle class in American history. And people are going to have to start making their products here and engaging in fair trade here in this country. This is, of course, offset by massive news this morning that there is a monster jobs number here in the United States of America. I just want to set the table here. President Trump is making it very clear that he's not about to back off on this. You're going to build here in this country. You're not going to use workarounds like going to Canada or going to Mexico to try and build your cars and then importing them free into America. No, you're going to do the business in America. You're going to have to make jobs here in this country. When was the last time you saw a jobs report like this? U.S. adds surprise 228,000 jobs in March. This is, by the way, beating the expectations of 150,000 jobs. Here's the news.
Yeah, 228,000 jobs added in the month of March. That is better than estimated. 228,000 versus the 140,000 that had been estimated here. The unemployment rate, though, ticking up to 4.2%. That was unexpected here. The labor force participation rate ticking up as well to 62.5%. Average hourly earnings coming in bang in line with estimates on a month-over-month basis, 0.3%. On a year-over-year basis, a little bit lower than estimated at 3.8%. Also want to point out the 228,000 that we got for the month of March compares with a revised number of 117,000 for the month of February. That is a downward revision for the February number here. Manufacturing payrolls at 1,000, private payrolls overall at 209,000. So, Maddie, all told here, it does look like on balance.
President Trump is already winning. There's going to be short-term pain on what is a total and complete global reset. Perfectly explained here by White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller.
All of that manufacturing, all of that industry was ripped apart by our elites, shipped to foreign countries, and then they sent us the bill. They said, you have to protect Korea, you have to protect Europe, you have to protect Canada, you have to protect Japan. We won't take your cars, we won't take your agriculture, we'll take away your steel industry, your aluminum industry, your copper industry, your electronics industry. All of the national industries that you need to be secure and successful as a country. So what President Trump is saying is, these are the injustices you have to remedy. This isn't just about moving around some lines on a ledger. This is about remedying the systemic injustice that says the streets of America are filled with European cars and Japanese cars, but the streets of Europe and Japan have no American cars. This is about saying that the American steel industry, which once built and sustained the modern world and is now a former husk of itself, coming back now thanks to Trump's tariffs.
We have a massive crisis in this nation, and you can see it when you just look at the absolute data. Something needs to break. It's unsustainable where we're heading. In order to control an empire, you have to be able to control your vassals. And America is an empire, and everybody wants to do business with us. But what ends up happening is actually the vassal states extract as much wealth and as much treasure as they can from the superstate. This has happened in the Roman Empire. This happened in the British Empire, led to the collapse of the British Empire, where the vassal states begin to squeeze the actual homeland. And after World War I and World War II, the reality is, and I don't like this reality, but the reality is, and I think this has been bad for our country, but the reality is that America became an empire, a global empire. And the Soviet Union couldn't really even compete. It's an American empire. It's unipolar. And as America begins to falter and weaken as we begin to be incapable of making our own products, making our own pharmaceuticals, growing our own food, treating our own people, paying for our own welfare state, going into debt, become sick. And those countries that have taken the jobs and the treasure of this nation begin to squeeze us. They do that through tariffs. They begin to take advantage of us. What President Trump is doing is a total and complete resetting of the table. Listen to Marco Rubio explain.
We're the largest consumer market in the world, and yet the only thing we export is services. And we need to stop that. We need to get back to a time where we're a country that can make things, and to do that we have to reset the global order of trade.
And the other part of my question.
Well, the worst thing is to leave it the way it is forever. I mean, this is just can't continue. We can't continue to be a country that doesn't make things. We have to be able to make things to provide jobs for Americans. That's it. It's that simple. China is an example. I mean, it's outrageous. I mean, they don't consume anything. All they do is export and flood and distort markets, in addition to all the tariffs and barriers they put in place. So the president rightly has concluded that the current status of global trade is bad for America and good for a bunch of other people, and he's going to reset it, and he's absolutely right to do
it. Is. Specifically China. It is astonishing how much we import from China. China has the toughest tariffs in the world. China has the most closed economy on earth. The idea from the globalist twats, cucks, who ran this country for the better part of the last 40 years, for my entire life, was that if we just forked over all of our treasure to China, then they would modernize, become a first world country, and that they wouldn't become a dictatorship. Well, that's not true. That they'd be an open and free trade society. Nope. They don't free trade with anyone. It is impossible to sell American goods inside of China. China is a total and complete export nation and an importer of other nations' wealth. That's their model. The only competitor to America, and they were a third world backwater nation just 60 years ago. China didn't even exist. It was just a civil war, like a caveman, effectively, ancient Civil War time. Is really like Nixon and a bunch of like globalists, kind of octopus tentacle intertwining, trying to like open up China because they thought they could control the world. They should have just left it a backwater. But they destroyed America in the process. And that was wrong. I was trying to like actually have somebody to say that. It's beautiful to see people like Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent on CNN. Just explaining this calmly and coolly and to describe like what does America First actually look like in policy? Here we go.
Bring your factory to the U.S.
Yeah, and obviously with the cars, all foreign-made cars, imports are getting a 25% tariff starting at midnight. If half the cars coming into the United States are foreign-made, that's hard to turn around overnight, as you know. So what would you say to people in the auto industry who are worried about that timeline and how quickly that can shift?
Buy American.
And what about American-made cars and produced cars that are being made using foreign-made parts?
Well, I believe the USMCA is exempt.
Yeah, those that are compliant with this, obviously yes. Canada and Mexico are not on here. A lot of these are our closest allies.
They're exempt. So what's that? What else? What else you got? If you look through the actual data on this, you'll realize that the country is very near fiscal insolvency. How are you ever going to pay $38 trillion in debt? That guy Scott Bessent, who's on there, is Treasury Secretary. You have to understand like the 4D chess that's being played here. What these tariffs are going to do is they are going to weaken the dollar. They are going to lower rates. There is going to be the dollar is insanely overpriced. That comes because of our open market and because of the tariffs on other countries. There's a swap that happens in currency when you pay a tariff. It strengthens or weakens, and a weak dollar can actually be a valuable asset if you're looking to pay off debt. This is the 4D chess that President Trump posted this morning, and we take this very seriously when President Trump posts a piece of media that sort of explains where he's going. It's very interesting. President Trump posting like lip readers who are saying who are describing his conversations with Barack Obama, and he just sort of casually posts these things, right? as though like, yep, you got it right. And this happened this morning, where it's kind of like a random account that isn't particularly popular. President Trump grabbed their content and popped it up. And it's describing what is 4D chess here. What does that actually look like to save America? Well, to save America, much like if you were to save your household that has a 20% mortgage rate on it, and you're never going to be able to pay off that mortgage, you're drowning in it, it's a bad deal. Donald Trump has a household to save here. This is about the national debt, and this is about our ability to actually reset the table and the landscape in a healthy manner to create economic health for the country. And so President Trump posts this. Let's go ahead and watch. And I think this is Trump winking and nodding and saying, yeah, you nailed it here.
Trump is crashing the stock market by 20% this month, but he's doing it on purpose. And this is why Warren Buffett just said Trump is making the best economic moves he's seen in over 50 years. Now, here's the secret game he's playing, and it could make you rich. So why is he doing this? To push cash into treasuries, which forces the Fed to slash interest rates in May, and those lower rates give the Fed the ability to refinance trillions of debt very inexpensively. It also weakens the dollar and drops mortgage rates. Now, it's a wild chess move, but it's working. Now, you're probably wondering, what about his tariffs? Well, I'll tell you, it's a genius play. It actually forces companies to build here to dodge them. It also forces farmers to sell more of their products here in the U.S. to bring grocery prices way down. We've already seen this with eggs. Now, remember, 94% of all stocks are owned only by 8% of Americans. So Trump, he's taking from the rich short term and handing it to the middle class through lower prices.
You want to know what America First policies look like? Here's the price of oil today. Check this out. The price of oil has gone through the center of the earth. 2021 is the last time oil prices were this cheap. Expect gas to go to $1 a gallon. Gasoline has already plummeted below $3, and that's the first time I've seen it that low here in Tampa. What does that do for all the cost of goods and commodities? Well, the price of gas is baked into all of that. The price of borrowing money is baked into all of that. The price of how much it costs to deliver the good to the United States is baked into all of that. In the near term, I think there's going to be some higher prices on some things. I think in the long term, this is going to be the single greatest play for the American economy in our lifetimes. And the final thing I'll say on this before bringing in the great Corey Lewandowski is if the trade is that I experience and you experience and we all experience some short-term pain in a 401k or in the market, money's liquid, man. Losing money costs you absolutely nothing. Losing your country costs you everything. Option B is to preserve this country and to strengthen it and to put up walls around this nation to make sure that my children have a future and are not tax chattel for a globalist elite that view them as less worthy of a job and dignity than a Vietnamese peasant. Yeah, man, I'm going to take the second option any day. Please, I will gladly pay more for my iPhone. That is a very simple choice for me. There's plenty of plastic, pointless luxuries that we have in this country that ain't worth it. So I'm here for it, ladies and gentlemen. And I love, get me on the record, I love this wealth redistribution. That is actually what's happening right now. Joining us now, ladies and gentlemen, Corey Lewandowski, who is just one of the perfect guys to talk about this with because, well, he's locked and loaded at the Department of Homeland Security. He's a special advisor to the administration, and he's also somebody who's just like got America First woven into his DNA. Here we go. Corey, you come from one of these places in New Hampshire that I think like you drive around and you see like the sort of fading away of what it meant to be like a small American town. I come from Iowa. It's the same thing. You spent tons of time in Iowa. Like you're starting to see like the American dream just sort of slip away. And this seems like the first time in my lifetime that a president has gone out and said, no, damn it, we're going to claw that back. And I love it.
Look, Benny, we're at an inflection point. Let's not kid ourselves. For 4 years, our country has been destroyed. And I had the chance just 2 weeks ago to sit down with President Bukele of El Salvador. And here's what he told me. He said he came to the United States 5 years ago before he was the president, and he couldn't believe the fact that when he went into Target, people could self-checkout. Because in his country, if you went to a store 5 years ago, there were armed guards standing out front, and the militia and the terrorists and the gangs would come in and shoot those armed guards and then steal all of the products. So all the products were behind glass. 5 years later, Benny, where are we in the United States? Our products are behind glass because people are going in and stealing them. The toothpaste is locked up. What a difference 5 short years makes in our country. So if we don't think we're at an inflection point right now and that leadership matters, we are sorely mistaken. You look at what President Bukele has done in El Salvador and made sure that that country is safe again, the lowest murder rate in the world now because of his tough policies. And you look at what the 4 devastating years of the Biden administration did to this country. We have a long way back, and it's going to be a tough road, but Donald Trump's going to get us there.
Yeah, so there's short-term pain in the market right now, but there's also a jobs report that's booming. That's 50% more than the expected rate. And there's, I guess, mixed messages right now from an economic standpoint. I hate this style of reporting because it's all about macro trends and not micro trends. And I think that this is going to eventually be one of the most genius economic moves in the history of this country. But the floor is yours. I just want to see a revitalization of the American dream, man.
Look, I had the chance and the privilege, and I say that, to be with the president just prior to the Rose Garden. I was at the Rose Garden event when he signed these tariffs. This is something he's been working on for probably 40 years. And I don't understand it. If you are an American citizen and you're a patriot, why we think it's okay to be taken advantage of by every other country in the world. Why is it we don't use our might, our political might, our economic might to have parity and equality? And what Donald Trump has said is, if you produce your products here in our country, there is no tariff. And he went through a litany of them. You saw it at the Rose Garden. He said, this country, boy, they're tough. China, they're tough. I respect them. Vietnam, they're tough. I respect them. We've been getting ripped off for years. So let's stop that. And look, when we have a level playing field, the United States can compete with anybody, but the field has not been leveled. And we've heard from all these neocons for a long time, oh, free trade, free trade. It's never been free. It's been good for everybody else. So let's have what we call fair trade. And what Donald Trump has done, and the world is recognizing, is we're stopping the ability to take advantage of the American consumer. We're bringing those opportunities back home. Sure, maybe people are concerned because for the last 2 days, the market's been down. I get it. And listen, I'm a guy who's got 4 kids. We're going to pay for college and all those other things, Benny. But here's the reality. And you said it just leading into the segment. I want to have a wall. I want to protect our country first. And my kids, as much as I love them, and I do, they're going to have the opportunity to create their own path going forward, to make their own success going forward. And what we do right now at this point in time is going to reflect for generations, not just days, weeks, or months, but generations of this country in the future.
What was it like going to that prison in El Salvador? It was amazing. It's amazing seeing some of the footage from in there. And obviously the secretary caught it like she always does, right? Because she does these incredible videos, and the video in front of the the gangland members there incarcerated was iconic. This is quite a message, man.
It was a very clear message, which is this is one of the tools in our tool belt. If you are Tren de Aragua, you are 18th Street Gang, you are MS-13, and you're in our country illegally, we will find you. We will send you to El Salvador. That prison, it's incredible. It was built in 6 months. It can hold 40,000 people. They're building another one behind it to hold another 40,000 people. And I asked the warden, how many fights have you had here? None, sir. How many escapes? Sir, nobody escapes here. Hey, when are these guys getting out? They're never getting out. We met an individual in that prison. He had a 458-year jail sentence for being a mass murderer. In the country of El Salvador, if you've got a face tattoo that says MS-13, they just assume you're a bad guy and you end up there because you are a terrorist. So let me be clear. If you're in the United States illegally and the president has designated you as a terrorist organization, MS-13, Tren de Aragua, 18th Street Gang, you will go to El Salvador. You'll spend the rest of your life there. There is no path out. There is no path forward. And if you think you're a tough guy, wait till you show up down there because you'll be crying like a little girl.
There's a judge named Judge Boasberg who's crying like a little girl, Corey. And he's crying today, saying that he might hold members of the Trump administration in contempt for shipping out rapists and murderers to El Salvador, to this prison that you were at. Can you unpack that for me and your message to Judge Boasberg?
You know, Benny, under a law passed many years ago, the Aliens Enemies Act is a law that Congress passed and a president signed. And as a matter of fact, when this was implemented many, many, many years ago, the Supreme Court came in and said this law is actually not even judicially reviewable. But what has happened is we've got these activist judges who determined that they would prefer that we keep terrorists in this country as opposed to send them out of the country. And so what we have been able to do is, under Title VIII authority, we've been able to ship these bad guys, these dirt bags, as we call them, out of our country to protect American citizens. Now, we've had the opportunity, the converse of that is to bring some of the really bad guys back. Look, the killer of Sarah Root from Iowa, as you know that story, was in Honduras, and we brought him back. We extradited him back to hold him accountable. We brought in some 29 guys from Mexico who we needed to bring back to hold accountable here in the U.S. But these terrorist organizations, these designated terrorist individuals are either being sent to Gitmo or they're being sent to El Salvador to pay for the crimes that they have committed. And we've got a federal judge, one federal judge, who thinks he has more authority than the president, more authority than Congress, more authority than every legal government organization out there. And it's really, really disappointing because I don't understand what the value proposition is of keeping terrorists in this organization. Look, Benny, I grew up to Massachusetts, and many of your viewers know this, but you know, my family was very close to the 9/11 victims because 2 of those planes came out of Boston. And so we lost friends that day. To think that we couldn't scoop up and deport the masterminds of 9/11, the Al-Qaeda terrorists, because some federal judge would have stepped in, would never have been heard of following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. But that's exactly what's going on here. We are being invaded from within, from people who want to do us harm. And this president has said, I will do everything in my legal authority to get those terrorists out of here. And I don't understand how the left think that it's okay to keep these terrorists in our country to continue to destroy our communities.
Yeah, I mean, this is the same judge that was willing and excited to lock up thousands of J6ers, of his own countrymen, and to treat them as terrorists, and now he's protecting foreign terrorists. It's a wild time, Corey. I don't know what they're drinking, dude. I don't know what they're smoking.
The American people are too smart for this, okay? They are with us on this. Look, we have almost 100% operational control of the border. I don't know if you've seen the numbers, but we've deported more than 800 members of the Tren de Aragua, found almost 200 members on the known terrorist watch list have been in this country. The border is all but completely sealed now, and that's an accomplishment because Donald Trump, without congressional action needed, said, go close the border. Pete Hegseth, Kristi Noem got together. We've got troops on the border. We've repositioned our naval resources. So they're in the Gulf of America now. They're over in San Diego now. We've got Coast Guard over there. We're working holistically. FBI, DEA, all of the government agencies are working together. And instead, what we're seeing is that these activist judges are saying, oh, no, you have to give them the opportunity to make their case and prove they're members of MS-13. When you've got a face tattoo that says MS-13, that doesn't mean, mom and dad love each other on the 13th day of the month. That means you're a bad hombre and you got to go.
Bad hombre. Oh, that's a classic. That's a classic, Corey. Just real quickly, since you were at this prison, President Trump said maybe this would be a good place to send the terrorists domestically who are terrorizing Tesla dealerships, firebombing them, and trying to get people killed. I mean, when you blow up an electric car, it's really damaging. There was a Tesla that exploded not too far from here during a hurricane, actually, and the fire burnt down the entire building. So these people could really kill and could cause major damage. And Trump's saying, maybe El Salvador, this prison is a great place to send them. Do left-wing terrorists want to go to this prison? I mean, you've seen it for yourself, Corey.
Let me tell you something, Benny. I've been to a lot of places around the world. This is the toughest, baddest, most vicious place I've ever seen in my life. Every person there is just completely covered in tattoos. There's 100 people in the cell and there's 80 bunks. Okay, you do the math. That means 20 people aren't sleeping in a bunk that night. There's no pillows, there's no blankets, there's no extra desserts. This isn't like an American prison where they get to, smuggle in cell phones and say, hey, I'm going to call mommy and keep running the gangs from inside. Okay, you get there is no escape. It doesn't matter. These guys were all the toughest people in their communities, in their neighborhoods. And they're all broken. And when I asked, what did you do? One word, discipline. We walked into the prison, the warden said, good morning. They said, good. You would think you're at a military installation the way they hop to. There are no games at this place. So these guys in America want to light Teslas on fire and they want to be domestic terrorists. What you don't want to do, and I know many of your viewers have seen the videos of these individuals arriving at this facility. By the way, they got nothing on Michael Bay, right? Michael Bay's got nothing on these guys, the videos they make. It's incredible. You see the buses coming in, the shaved heads going, and the police and, the helicopters and the C-130s open. They say, not the place I want. Nice to visit. I don't want to stay.
Okay. Well, I think this is a great deterrent. And actually, can we all agree? Like domestic terrorism, we should have a good deterrent on that. We should have deterrence on foreign terrorism as well. And we should have deterrence on people taking advantage of our country and stealing the future for our children, whether it's an MS-13 gang member killing that young man in North Carolina just a day ago, or whether it's a country's ripping us off. And so Corey Lewandowski has been fighting for America First longer than some people have been alive, and he's great. You got to follow him. He's doing God's work at the Department of Homeland Security. He's 600,000 followers on X. Stay locked in with the great Corey Lewandowski. Godspeed, Corey.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we talk about how President Trump is simply trying to make our economy and the way that we manage our home stable. He's trying to renegotiate the cost of debt on our home, right? He's renegotiating our mortgage. He's setting the table correctly so that we're not getting ripped off, so people aren't coming in and stealing our doors, our windows, our treasure from inside of our house, which is what's happened. The home of America has been strip mined by countries that hate us, by globalists, and it's wrong, and it leads to very unsafe conditions for our children. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that your home is safe today. Home Title Lock is an organization that can protect you from what the FBI calls house stealing. It's a growing real estate scam targeting American homeowners and their equity. Here's how it works. Criminals forge your signature on one document, use fake notary stamps, pay a small fee, and file with your county. And just like that, your home title has been transferred out of your name. You've gotten your house stolen. Until you start getting collections or foreclosure notices, you won't even know that this has happened to you. So when was the last time that you checked your home title? Well, my answer was never, right? Because, who does that? That's why scammers take advantage of this loophole. So make sure that you're protected today. You should call Home Title Lock. You should get a hold of them and make sure that you are not taken advantage of by these thieves, much like our country is being taken advantage of by these thieves. Use my promo code Benny. Go to HometitleLock.com. You'll receive a free title history report on your house and find out if it's still in your name when you sign up. You'll receive 14 days of free $1 million triple lock protection, unlimited 24/7 monitoring of your property's title, urgent alerts if there are any changes. And should fraud happen, you'll be backed up by $1 million worth of insurance. Get peace of mind right now at HometitleLock.com. Promo code Benny. Click on the link in the description. HometitleLock.com. Promo code Benny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump in here very quickly because we have an excellent senator on hand, and as somebody who has brought, a bit of a what's that? Okay, all right. Somebody who's brought a bit of a what's the right way to say this? A muscular, coach-like, be on the same team mentality to his governance here in the country and the way that he carries himself in the Senate. His name's Tommy Tuberville. And I want to talk with him about being on the same team because there's massive news, the number one trending news in the country right now, that the NSA director, National Security Administration director, and Cyber Command Chief Timothy Haw and Wendy Noble were fired in a major shakeup at the wiretapping agency. And they were fired after President Trump met with Laura Loomer, and Laura Loomer brought her copious notes into the meeting and talking about making some policy shifts and changes. Now, obviously, President Trump has had some major issues with loyalty, with people being on the same team in his administration. And so let's go talk to the coach about this. Coach Tommy Tuberville joining us live now to chat being good team members. Let's go. Would you rather Coach Tommy Tuberville or Senator Tommy Tuberville? It's probably
Coach,
right?
Please.
That's right.
Please call me Coach. It means so much more to me because you can get a lot more done. And really, that's what President Trump has turned into. If you just look at it, I call it the Great Reset, but it's also just changing the game plan of what this country has been doing for the last 40, 50 years, and we're going in the wrong direction. So it's time to reset, new game plan, and that's exactly what he's doing, and he's got a lot of people really, really mad.
So he's doing it on a number of different fronts, but obviously the economic front is front and center, and many people are either concerned or extremely happy about all of this. I happen to be somebody who's very happy about it, but he's also doing it from a personnel front. So just from your coaching experience, Senator, like how, you can't have players on the team who are acting against the better interests of the team, or better, or worse yet, just like not performing. This is going to make for not a non-championship team. Yeah, everybody's got to be on the same page at the end of the day. I used to have 50 or 60 coaches and administrators and strength coaches and trainers. Everybody's got to be on the same page of what you do, how you do it, when you do it. And if you're not going to be as successful as you can be. And that's what President Trump has taken over. He's taken over a city here in Washington, D.C. that has basically destroyed the American dream of the American people. And it's not just what goes on, it's the people that are involved. And they're on both sides now. It's not just one side. It's also bureaucrats. It's also politicians. And it's become a game of what I would call just outlast the other president, so to speak. And so President Trump has got 4 years, meaning he's come out of the chute. And again, he has to reset everything, because if we continue the same path that we're on, we're not going to make it. Everybody's going, well, these tariffs are taken away from my stocks or my business or whatever. Folks, if these don't work, you're really in for trouble, because there's nothing else we can do to help the American people without taxing the hell out of them. How do you package that to your constituents? Because there are going to be people who say, wow, this is a short-term pain, and my 401k took a hit. We've spent an entire show talking about the economics of it and how it's actually genius 4D chess, and somebody was going to have to do it. President Trump's going to talk about it his entire life. But how do you communicate this to your constituents?
Well, you just hit the keyword, Benny, communicate. President Trump has got to be out there along with all the people that are around him, Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, Howard Lutnick of Commerce. You've got to get the energy people involved. What people don't really realize, they're talking about prices and things that are going on. Hey, folks, by the way, gas has gone down at the pump $1 a gallon since President Trump took over a little over 2 months ago. You know how much money that saves you when you fill up your car with gas? Other things have gone down. It's going to work out, but you don't get that instant feedback most of the time, especially when it comes to tariffs. I just talked with some very important people here in my office a few minutes ago. They're big business people, not just in our country, over the world. They said, we've never seen this before. I mean, this has never been tried. Exactly. But this is the only way we can reset our country to the fact that the American people can eventually start getting money and things back from the countries that have taken advantage of it. We built the Middle East and Asia and India and Europe. We built it all on the backs of the American taxpayers. Meaning now is the time for these people to come back to the party and bring gifts and things to us, to where our people don't have to put everything up for grabs and really put everything on the line.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I was shocked looking at that list of the number of nations who practically wouldn't exist. The vast majority of countries in the world wouldn't exist without American might and protection. That's just a matter of fact. The entire global order rests upon having a strong and powerful America. And they're so ungrateful, these bastards. I couldn't believe the tariffs that existed on our nation and the trade deficits that existed with our nation in some of these backwaters that truly wouldn't even, like, they're fake countries, right? They totally exist because of America, and they take advantage of us. It's very insulting.
Yeah, one example is Vietnam. In my state of Alabama, we raise catfish, and of course we're shrimpers in the Gulf. And my farmers have been telling Coach, we're going to go under. We're absolutely going to go under if you don't do something about Vietnam. Now, we lost 50,000 lives in Vietnam back in the 60s and 70s, 50,000 trying to help them. And they turn around and we're tariffed and they're not. And so President Trump put a 46% tax on their catfish coming in because they were dumping billions of pounds of catfish in our country that were, number one, they're bad for you. They're raised in sewers and bad water. Same thing with shrimp. India is just dumping shrimp in here. He put a 26% tariff on them. We have to do that or we have no chance. Our farmers, Joe Biden cared nothing about our farmers. And I hear these Democrats just spewing out about tariffs. Wait a minute. You put our farmers out of business for the last 4 years, 150,000 farmers gone out of business. You could care less about farmers in this country. You care about getting reelected in power. So President Trump is going out on a limb. He's doing everything he possibly can to help the American people.
This is such a great real world example. And another excellent example that I've been seeing is and I spent some time in Europe as a young man, and some of my first jobs was actually in Germany for a year and a half. And you never saw an American car. There's nothing but German cars all over American streets. Right? There are multiple, they're very popular Mercedes and BMW dealerships in every American city, right? Major American city. And you never saw an American car dealership across nowhere in Europe. And I traveled extensively for my first job. And that's because of tariffs. And that's because these people, like Europe's their entire land, language, and existence depends on the United States of America. And they completely insult us and flip us off. We created the automobile. It should be just American cars all across the world. And it's an insult, man.
Well, there's one thing that people don't really realize too, Benny, is it's not just tariffs. There's countries across the world that will not buy our chicken. They will not buy our beef. Okay. They buy it from other countries. They won't buy it from us. Again, I'm going to go back to our farmers. We are going to end up buying everything from other countries if we don't save our farmers in this country. They are going out of business as fast as you can think. And so it's just these other countries have to understand we have supported everybody for years and years and years. Now it's a time for us to take care of ourselves, pay your own way. And like this U.S. aid, all this fraud that we have here, it'll make you sick at your stomach. If you've seen the things that I've seen, and it's not out yet, you're going to see more and more of it. It's mind-boggling the money that's going out of this country that the American taxpayers have no clue, and it's been doing that for years and years.
Are you alluding to what President Trump said yesterday when he said that Doge has uncovered something monumental and atrocious and horrifying, and the American people will be sickened when they find out? Can you give us some insight or elucidation into that?
No, I better hold back on that one. But all I can tell you is we meet weekly. I'm on the Help Committee, I'm on the Ag Committee, I'm on the Armed Service Committee, and of course, Doge is going through all those. Right now, they're getting ready to start with Dr. Oz. He was confirmed yesterday with CMS, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, where we are absolutely, everybody's saying President Trump's going to cut those. He's not cutting them. He's going to reform them. Because if we don't reform it and make sure that only people get it that put in that deserve it, it's not going to last much longer. But yeah, there's a lot of things out there that's coming. If they threw it all out there at one time, everybody needs to let it soak in a little at a time of really what the politicians, the bureaucrats, and the Democrats have done to this country over years and years. And again, not just Democrats, Republicans that have been in on all this. And again, sometimes it's not intentional. It's just they don't know how to do business up here. They're not business people. They're lawyers, and they're people that come up here to hopefully move up the ladder in some other position. But at the end of the day, President Trump is turning this country into a big business, and that's exactly what we have to do.
Yeah. There's reporting out this morning about Mitch McConnell and the fortune that his family made in China, and how Mitch McConnell has been he's been voting against these tariffs. He's been pro China and pro bringing China. His photos with Xi Jinping. It's like it seems like a massive conflict of interest to me. I'd love to see rules set up for senators to stop them from being influenced by outside foreign powers and getting filthy rich off of foreign powers.
Well, what happens up here is the longer people stay, they get more of a mindset of what they believe and not what the people back in their state believe. Again, I represent the people of Alabama. Like they call me, my catfish farmers call me, Coach, you got to do something. So we went to the White House. We talked to them. Same thing with our shrimpers. Same thing with our row croppers of cotton and soybeans, who basically are about gone. And so it's the regulations that these people put in, but we don't fight against that enough. But as President Trump said, the regulations are really coming from the bureaucrats and other countries. As I just said, Japan, they won't even eat our chicken. You got to be kidding me. I mean, we have some of the best chicken in the world, and meat. Australia, we don't eat meat from United States. Really? I mean, we eat anything that they sell. We'll eventually buy. We're the richest country, and if it wasn't for us buying things, we're the biggest buyer of products all over the world. That's right. And so they expect us, if we put a little bit of tariff on them, that they're going to cry and complain about it. No, hey. Free tickets over. It's time for everybody to pay their fair share.
Good. Senator, I had a passion project very quickly to ask you about, and I know time is short here, so this will be the last question, but something that I think is near and dear to everyone's heart. You talk about waste, fraud, and abuse. I flew out of Washington yesterday, and there were 7 TSA agents with 0 line, with just the normal boarding, and then there was 1 TSA agent doing the pre-check, and it was like 100 people in the line, and everyone was waiting and everyone was getting late for their flight. It's one of the most mismanaged organizations in the country. Many argue that it should be illegal based on search and seizure and Fourth Amendment, Third Amendment, and Fourth Amendment laws. You now are bringing forth an idea to potentially abolish the TSA. I know that you're in favor of this. I'd like to chat with you about that and how you think that would work out, abolishing the TSA.
Well, first of all, we need security at the airport. We know 9/11. The problem is that George W. Bush put in the TSA, and it's a bloated government agency. And so government agencies don't work. We found that out. Now, we've gone from one of no employees 20 years ago to 60,000 union employees working all over the country. Now, let's think about this. We have a lot of small airports across the country that they don't have TSA. They privatize. That's what we have to do. Get it out of federal government. These people that work in there, they can work for a privatized company. Let them buy it. Let the airlines and the airports run it, but get the federal government out of it. We can't run anything. Okay, we're broke. We got to get out of this and give it to a capitalist group that wants to make money, that will do it right, that will hold people accountable. We got more DEI employees with the TSA than you can stir with a stick. And again, I go through airports twice a week, and it's a catastrophe. And I know a lot of people have the same problems. But again, we need security. But it's time we understand that they did a little program not too long ago with TSA. They hid fake guns, plastic guns, and explosives. They found 5% out of 100% of those explosive and guns going through TSA. It's a failure. Okay, if it's 100%, we got a good chance, but it's not working. So if it's not working, what do? You reset it, just like President Trump's resetting the country. And we've got to make sure that we keep people safe on airplanes.
Senator, I hope that we keep people safe by not having catfish raised in sewers in Vietnam. I'm all for Alabama catfish. I'd love nothing more. I'm not sure I've ever had Alabama catfish. I think I've had Alabama shrimp. It's not too far off the Florida coast here. That great Gulf of America, just a beautiful place. And I hope that you'll take me up someday on a plate of Alabama catfish. Now you have my appetite going.
That'd be awesome. Thank you, Benny.
Thank you, Senator. Everybody follow the Senator here at Tommy Tuberville. 115,000 people already follow. Godspeed, Senator. Coach. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the Senator himself is quite a brick house. He's coached quite a few brick houses, coached many championship teams, and is, just a legend. And we love having people that don't come from the political world, right? There are these urchins that live inside of the underbelly of politics, like Mitch McConnell's one of them, that are so corrupt. He kind of took the Mitch McConnell bait, didn't he? He's like, yeah, we got problems up here. Ladies and gentlemen, we got it. Yeah. We got ourselves a brick house. The Rock, for instance, is somebody that Tommy Tuberville has coached. We also use brick house at this show. I'm doing my best to stay in shape. We do spend a lot of time in the studio. This is a little black box, and while I'm at a standing desk right now, I stand during the show. The truth is, I don't really get my steps in, and sometimes I don't get good nutrition, especially when we're on the road and we're doing sort of these breakneck, 24-hour trips to D.C. This is why I use Field of Greens from Brickhouse Nutrition. These are the whole fruits and vegetables that are very easy to take and very realistic to incorporate into your diet every single day. It's whole fruits and vegetables. That's it. That's all inside of the Field of Greens products. It helps me stay healthy, alert, sharp. You want to be all of those things in this job, especially if you are on stage with the legend Steve Bannon. You want to make sure that, you're bringing something to the table. Make sure that you are locked in for this golden era and feeling healthier than ever using Field of Greens. Doctors selected for specific health benefits like the heart group, lung, kidney, metabolism group, healthy weight group. Field of Green has the promise that your doctor will notice improved health or your money back. Get a 20% discount when you go to fieldofgreens.com/Benny. Use my code Benny. Fieldofgreens.com. Use the code Benny, and you'll get a 20% discount, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that you are healthy in this great American health revival that we are all going through. Okay, so we didn't get a chance to really build this out, but let's two things I don't want to miss. I want to get the take from J.D. Vance on these tariffs. I think he talked through this. J.D. Vance, obviously hillbilly, the panacea of the working class. Guys clearly comes from a place where everybody had grease under their fingernails, coal under their collars. Have you ever been to West Virginia? I certainly have. I've gone inside of these coal mines. Man, these people are the hardest working, just best-hearted Americans that we have, and we're abandoning them. We're destroying these communities. And I saw it myself, just entire towns, like just ghost towns now. J.D. Vance comes from that world, and it's very famous. He wrote Hillbilly Elegy to describe what happens when a little town in Vietnam, peasant slave labor takes the jobs from the middle of America. Good example of this is East Palestine, for instance. East Palestine, obviously, that was a big ceramics and manufacturing area, and they shut all those factories down and moved them to India. So they just stole, and you go to East Palestine, man, it's it's tough, man. That town is barely getting by, and then Biden explodes a train right in the middle of it and pours toxic chemicals on all the children who live there. It's just total insult. Anyway, the point is that these are the places that J.D. Vance is from. So I want to get J.D. Vance on the tariffs. Let's lock in.
Explain to us how you get manufacturing here, but also get the cost down for the American people.
Well, if you go back a little bit, Lawrence, remember during the first Trump administration, everybody said that Trump's tariffs were going to be inflationary back then. What actually happened? We had 1.5% inflation. We had the fastest growing economy in a generation, and we had the beginning of a manufacturing renaissance in the United States of America. Then, of course, we had 4 terrible years of the Biden administration. But I think it's useful for all of us to step back and ask ourselves, what has the globalist economy gotten the United States of America? And the answer is fundamentally it's based on 2 principles: incurring a huge amount of debt to buy things that other countries make for us. And to make it a little bit more crystal clear, we borrow money from Chinese peasants to buy the things those Chinese peasants manufacture. That is not a recipe for economic prosperity. It's not a recipe for low prices, and it's not a recipe for good jobs in the United States of America. For 40 years, we have gone down that pathway. We've seen closing factories. We've seen rising inflation. We've seen the cost of housing so high that most Americans can't afford to buy a home right now. President Trump is taking this economy in a different direction. He ran on that, he promised it, and now he's delivering. And yes, this is a big change. I'm not going to shy away from it, but we needed a big change, Lawrence. We cannot keep going down the Joe Biden globalist pathway where we have $2 trillion of peacetime debt and deficits. We have manufacturing disappearing. That is not working for Americans. We've got to take this country in a different direction.
Let them cook, man. Let them cook. I see these black pillars on my timeline. They're like, oh, I lost a little bit of money in the stock market. First off, you lost no money. It's just numbers on a balance sheet. It's not real unless you panic sell. It's not real unless you don't believe in what you actually invested in the first place. And if you're investing in American companies and you're investing in the companies that make this country great, and that hold up this country, well then yeah, I mean, listen, when you print a bunch of fake money, maybe that's going to inflate the stock market a little bit, and maybe we're going to see a little bit of a return to normalcy. We already showed you the stock market chart. Please don't freak out on these things. But more importantly, like, can we please like establish, and I'll tell you, if you want to come for me in the comment sections, don't care. Losing money costs you nothing. This is just the reality of life. You're gonna, like, were you young and dumb? How much money did you lose? Everyone loses money. Everyone loses money. It costs you nothing. In fact, it builds quite a bit of character. In fact, you learn a lot of lessons, actually, by losing money. Losing your character costs you everything. Losing your country costs you everything. There are things you can't get back. The government can print more money, and it will, sadly. That's just the reality. It's fugazi, it's fugazi. It's just that there's a boom and a bust every 10 years, and it's been that way since the invention of modern markets in the 1600s. The Dutch crash of 1649. You ever heard of it? It's just the way that it works. It's the way that like monetary policy has always worked. There's going to be ups and downs, especially as the table gets reset. If you lose the character of your country, if your town gets hollowed out. Give me that photo of that town, man. Give me the photo of that town in West Virginia. If your town gets hollowed out and your entire neighborhood gets addicted to opioids and your steel mill shuts down and your farmers can't grow crops and there's no more cattle ranchers, there's no more cowboys, there's no more fishers, there's no more workers, and we're completely and totally dependent upon slave labor peasants across Asia to make every good and service and pharmaceutical, then you've actually lost your country. And then we are the slaves. There you go. This is West Virginia. And it's so sad that this was a factory that provided thousands of honest, good-hearted, steel-working jobs for our fellow countrymen. And it was ripped. The guts of it got ripped out and shipped by people like Mitch McConnell so that they could make a couple extra points in their portfolio to get stock swaps with Pan-Asian countries. And they sold out their countrymen, and I call that traitorism, actually. I think that's the definition of a traitor. You can lose money. You can lose points in your portfolio. It costs you absolutely nothing. You won't miss them when you're dead. Nobody ever had their net worth carved onto their tombstone. It doesn't even matter when you're on your deathbed. Who cares? It's just digits on a ledger. What will matter is, did you preserve your nation for your children? Did you view your country as something more than just an economic zone and tax cattle and slaves to China? Put that up, President Trump. No crying in the casino. Is it really? I don't care. It's too good. Final point I'll make on this is, who's the slave and who's the master? You know, if your pharmaceutical and automobile and phone, all the wires in your home, every electronic in your home, if everything that you use in your life is wholly and totally built by a foreign power that hates you, then you're the slave. You've always thought of America as the master of the world or as like an empire, but it's not. Not if we are totally dependent and on our knees before these third world goblin dictatorships. So it's time for a total reset. It's time for them to know who's boss. And it's time for us to be the master once again. That's the point of this country, actually, to be the master of our own destinies. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our honor to welcome to the program for the very first time, Jeff Crank from Colorado. He's on the House Armed Services Committee. And, man, that's a state that we'd sure like to turn red again. Welcome, Congressman Crank. Congressman, how are you?
Hey, Benny, how are you, man? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, we're good, man. We're locked in and excited about potentially reinvigorating the American dream in this country. Something that is really tough when you walk the streets of Denver. I know I see here in the script that this is something that you're fighting yourself. But when you walk the streets of Denver, man, I would travel like a kid. I was raised in Iowa, so you'd like do this horrific drive across Nebraska to go to Colorado, right? And to go skiing maybe, or just to see the big city.
Yeah.
And it was a gorgeous, like almost like country western, like gateway town. I've returned there in the last couple of years, and it is a third world hellscape, Denver. It is so awful to see, and I'm so sad about it. How do we fix that, Congressman?
Well, yeah, you're right. And, I'm from Colorado Springs, which is an hour south of Denver, and it's really a tale of two cities. And frankly, Colorado Springs is still governed by conservatives. Denver, of course, is governed by liberals. Unfortunately, we have a very liberal governor and a very liberal state legislature, and they just keep passing more stupid laws. And they do it on guns. They pass stupid laws on drugs. They decriminalize crime every chance they get. And Denver is turning into Seattle. I think it's a few years behind Seattle or Portland, only because they started before Denver did. But, we're working hard to try and turn that around. But it's difficult when you've got a governor and a state legislature that, they're just hell bent on doubling down on stupid.
What happened to Colorado, man? It was a red state like not too long ago. But something terrible happened. Are you going to blame it on California?
Well, we can blame some of it on California. Yeah. Now, look, I mean, we've certainly had a lot of people move to Colorado. It's been a state that has seen a lot of in-migration over the last 10 years. A lot of people moving here because of the beauty of Colorado, and people getting very tired of the terrible policies in places like California. Move to Colorado. They moved to Montana. They're moving to a lot of Western states. I think COVID accelerated it. People wanting to get out of the big cities and move to a better life in the West, if you will. So there's been some of that. But at the same time, I mean, we saw, if you've read the book, The Blueprint, it's really about how the left set out 15, 20 years ago to change Colorado and to invest the money into it and into infrastructure to change it. And they've done it. And they started, they wanted to get control of the Secretary of State's office here. And they did that. All of the statewide offices, they put time and effort into winning those. And obviously state legislative seat by legislative seat. And so I think that's been part of it. The other part of it is, I think our own party, the Republican Party, has destroyed itself as well from within by constantly bickering and fighting over power instead of trying to fight to elect conservatives. We've kind of turned that around here. I think in the last year, we saw us increase. We went from having 3 of the 8 congressional seats, we picked up 1. So we're 4 out of our 4 seats are Republicans. So we're making some progress, but it's been slow.
So you brought up the Secretary of State, Jenna Griswold, and she's been, not a friend of this show. She's tried to rip President Trump off the ballot and done everything in her power to do her own sort of January 6th arrests of Colorado citizens who are just trying to blow the whistle on rigged, stolen, or just flatly insecure elections. This is the same Secretary of State who, I guess, left all of the key cards for all of the electronic voting machines open and available on her website. I mean, was that on purpose? What's going on? Should there be a criminal investigation into your Secretary of State?
Well, there should be. I mean, she should have resigned from that alone. I mean, first of all, when you get smacked down 9-0 by the United States Supreme Court, there are a few people that have that high honor, right? To be smacked down 9-0 by the U.S. Supreme Court on her removal of President Trump from the ballot. That's, as I say, a high honor and distinction. But not only that, this putting the passcodes on the internet, whether it was intentional or whether it was her just, doing it out of incompetence, either way, she should resign. I called on her to resign. And if she won't resign, the state legislature, the governor ought to force an investigation into her. Unfortunately, she's going to retire. She's going to be done because term limits will force her to not be the Secretary of State in 2 years. But guess what? She's planning on running for Attorney General of the state of Colorado. So we're probably not going to be done with Jenna Griswold unless we work hard to keep her out.
So what does working hard to keep her out mean? I mean,
well, we got to find a good candidate. I mean, we don't have good candidates right now. I mean, honestly, I think the left in Colorado knocked out our bench, our farm team, if you will, for Republicans in a lot of ways. I mean, we're down to we barely avoided a supermajority in the Senate and the House. They used to have a supermajority in the House. We took it away this last year by 1 vote. So by 1 vote, they can't just run anything they want through the legislature and not even, have to worry about the governor's support. So, we're slowly crawling back, but we just don't have a bench right now of good candidates who can run for many of these seats. And we need to build that. It's going to take some time. But the good news is I think there are people, and I've met with them over the last, several months, who really are interested in trying to figure out a way to claw back in Colorado. It's a beautiful state. It's something that we can't cede. We can't just say we're going to fall off. Yeah. I mean, there's cities like Pueblo, which is south of me by about an hour south. It's steadily gone from the time of JFK, where it voted overwhelmingly Democrat. Every year it's got more and more Republican. It voted for Trump in 2016 and 2024. He won that county. He was the first president in 2016 to win Pueblo County, and it's flipped. So there is hope. We just need to continue to help those red parts of the state.
You're supporting a bill that would defund sanctuary cities. I think that would help, frankly. I'm all in favor because the pain that these cities have cost innocent Americans. I mean, we just find out again and again and again. Yesterday, valedictorian D1 athlete that was going to go play college football was killed by an illegal alien drunk driving in North Carolina. It happened here in Tampa a year ago with a mother and a daughter. And I'm sick of it, and I want pain. And Democrats a sanctuary city. I'm sorry, Democrats. The Democrat sanctuary city of Denver, right, is just one of the worst. I mean, frankly, again, it was just disgusting walking the streets. It was so sad. It's lean-tos and tents and drugs everywhere. It just like entire shanty towns being built throughout Denver. It was very dangerous. I mean, we got our camera smashed actually because some hobo just like came up and smashed it.
Yep,
it was terrible. So I hope that you're successful here.
Yeah, and it's Denver for sure, but it's our state legislature that is forcing these policies, and our governor continues to try and say that we're not a sanctuary state, but he signed bills into law that made us a sanctuary state, and so those laws should be repealed. Denver wrote a manual. They put a manual up on the internet explaining to other cities how to be a sanctuary city. I got after the mayor of Denver in a hearing a few weeks back because when they transfer someone to ICE, they won't actually do the transfer in the jail. They'll walk out, release them, essentially take the handcuffs off and release them out of their jail. And if ICE is there, ICE can chase them down. I mean, that's unbelievable. We had an ICE agent that got bit by an illegal immigrant who was being released from the jail. The mayor frankly lied about it, and he said, no, it didn't happen. There was 6 people in there. There were not 6 people in the yard. There was 1 ICE agent in the yard, 1. And, they released this criminal. And I asked the mayor, would you feel safe if you were the only person in a yard with a Trinidad Aragua gang member? Of course, he didn't want to answer that question. So it's out of control. And it's not only the illegal immigrant stuff, it's also the drug culture. The drug culture of Denver and of Colorado is again, they're doing what Portland did, only Portland's now kind of pulling some of that stuff back because they know how bad it is.
Yeah, it's grotesque. And it's atrocious how they do this to some of America's greatest cities. Like Chicago is just a great city. You won't get another one. Denver's a great city. They actually target it. It's almost like a humiliation ritual. They target some of our most beautiful and treasured places in this country to destroy them, I think, to break the American spirit. So we're thankful for you fighting, Congressman, and keeping Colorado alive and keeping hope alive there in that state. Obviously, we are happy to have you on the show for the first time, and hope to see you in Colorado Springs. That itself is a very beautiful city, and that has not been lost. The great Jeff Crank, everyone go follow here on social media. Colorado's 5th district. And fighting for us. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Benny. Appreciate you.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Ask Benny anything, and we'll do some super chats. Let's go. All right. We're building a new one. All right. Klein tells me he's coming. Okay. All right. We got a lot of work to do. Okay. Well, it's a perfect question. First off, Megan Henderson, how do we make Colorado red again? So there's no such thing as a permanent red state or a permanent blue state. That's been proven time and time again. Watch New Jersey flip in the next presidential election. Watch states like the blue wall flip. Like watch Pennsylvania become Florida. Meaning Florida was like a purple state 20 years ago. Oh boy, is it going to be the Republican? Is it going to be the Democrat? Nope. Florida's now like rock red Republican. I was talking with Byron Donalds this morning. We have some exciting work we're going to be doing with Byron here in the state. This state is gone red, and it's going to stay red. Watch the same thing happen in Pennsylvania. And you can do it all across the country. The problem with Colorado is that Republicans don't need Colorado to win on a map, on a congressional map. That's the major issue. And the way that Colorado is going, you just kind of, you can see here, look at it's very interesting in the state. All of the counties that are like farmland and ranchers, those are all like deep red. And then all of the elitist ski chalet towns for all of the elitists, globalist elitists who come in from California, like the Aspen, sort of the mountain range there. That's the blue, the big streak of blue through the state. Those are all the extremely expensive and elite ski towns. That's what actually flips the state. It's very interesting. Would love to see like the voter rolls there to see exactly how many fraudulent votes are being cast by people who don't actually live in Colorado because they own a place in Aspen where the beer flows like wine. Juice to Griffin. Let's go, baby. Should SpaceX build a new Air Force One? Boeing has pushed it back to 2027 or 2028. Absolutely. There's no reason why with the advent of AI and with the American manufacturing might that still does exist, that we can't get a new Air Force One like built within the year. It is so dumb. It is so stupid. Elon Musk is literally saving astronauts in space. SpaceX could totally build this thing. It'd be very cool to send the president to space every time that's actually the fastest way to get across the country to go into orbit. So maybe you just make it a SpaceX vehicle. You're exactly right, Juiced. Crystal Marie Dobbins, Benny, I saw you in Tom McDonald's new song. How does it feel knowing that you were part of the #1 song, Ultimate F You to the Left? Much love, Benny Show, for being real. What up, Crystal? It feels awesome, and just like yesterday, this every victory and everything that we do in this program is for you. It's for our I'm you. I went to community college. Okay, I am not some Harvard guy, right? I'm not some Ivy League guy. I'm a working class dad. I am a dad who's like building a little company. My chosen profession is not auto detailing or construction or finance. My chosen profession is streaming and news. And so we just have a little humble company here. I'm a simple Christian, and we're blown away by the support for the show, support for what we're doing. And we're never going to quit. We're going to keep on rolling, and we're going to keep on muscling through into spaces that we shouldn't be allowed. And we're going to bulldoze the people that are trying to gatekeep us. It's great. It's an exciting time. And our victories are your victories. We're pretty honest about who we are and what we do. I share photos of my family, our humble little home, and our humble little lives all the time. It is a joy to be able to build all this together with you. And it is a profound joy to say that this company is 100% made in America. We employ only Americans. Our entire store is made in America. Our Christmas ornament this year was all made in America. I went to the factory with the Americans making all of them. Here in Florida, like right up the street. So like we do everything here. We put our money where our mouth is, and we straight up invest. I guess Klein only like the cameras. I guess thinking cameras come from Korea. Sucks, sucks. What would we have to do? Get Reds to be built in America? Are Reds even made in America? That's a good question. All right. So what can you do? That's fine. Show me the good cameras that are made here in the States, and we'll go that direction. But thank you, Crystal. Yes, that is an honor. All right, let's jump on over here, ladies and gentlemen. Some super chats, and rock and roll. Benny, okay, so here we go. Aesop's fan. Benny, are your little girls being like little mommies with their brothers? Yes. Yes. 100%. Yes. I'll show you. Why not? I'll show you. I'll show you a video. I'll show you a video from this morning. There you go. Pop it up. This is our newborn, and you'll see in this clip. I think this is an appropriate clip to play. Yeah. Why won't it roll? Okay. You'll see here the yeah. Okay, you just play it. You can hear you can hear my girls constantly. This is our newborn this morning. You can hear our girls just constantly running over and wanting to be mommy with the newborn. So there you go. They want to be mommy. They this is my morning. These are our mornings. I actually profoundly feel bad for men who don't get to experience this. It is the greatest thing in life. Right there. Seeing that is the single greatest motivator in the morning. You want to know why I'm for the tariffs? You want to know why I'm for protectionist policies to preserve America for Americans? That's why. There it is. Okay. When are you guys coming to liberate Canada? Be happy to. One of my biggest regrets was we weren't able to get to Canada before the election to show you, to go interview people at the McDonald's that Kamala Harris supposedly worked at. Thank you for the question, Nick Locke. Who here would vote for Trump for a third term. Marissa says, everybody who says, I trust Trump, what if he's wrong? Because here we are, the global economy, and we get Amazon packages the next day for a while. I'm not saying that there's going to be zero pain as you exorcise the there's always little pain as you exorcise the demons from these places. But the end results and the unwinding of these policies is going to be worth it for our country. It's true. And no amount of like cheap plastic crap no amount of cheap plastic crap or points in your portfolio today can take the place of a future for your children tomorrow. Last one, y'all. Austin Metcalf. Prayers for Austin Metcalf. That's exactly right. I'm not sure if we had a block actually built in here for Austin Metcalf. I guess not. There was a lot going on. There's a lot going on this morning. We covered it in another video. We covered it yesterday in a video that I recorded from my hotel room. I was so upset about this. But yes, I said this morning, death sentence. Austin Metcalf, just if you're unfamiliar with the story, I'm sure you're not, but if you're unfamiliar with the story, Austin Metcalf is a 4.0 student who's a promising young athlete who was at a track meet, got stabbed in the heart by this individual. His name's Carmelo Anthony, I believe. So Carmelo Anthony here commits cold-blooded homicide and should face the death sentence. He should die for this. This is how you actually send a message that you're not allowed to engage in just blind, rage-filled, evil hatred. I think it should be charged as a civil rights. Also, this should be charged by the feds as a civil rights violation. There should be a full investigation to see if race played any factor here. But of course it did play a factor. There's just absolute, total, fundamental, data-based realities about young black males and tendencies towards violence. Something like, what are the numbers? Something like Matt Walsh was going off on this. Something like 4% of black males will commit homicide in their lives. Now, that seems like one of the largest existential problems in our entire society. The numbers, and I want to be accurate here, but it's like clearly the single most violent subsection of our entire society. Jason Whitlock going off about disc culture and how if any perceived insult entitles you to behave like in rage-filled, deadly violence. Well, the reality of this is that, one, this individual, Carmelo Anthony, should be put to death. Death sentence, death sentence. You can be put to death actually quite easily in the state of Texas. And more importantly, there needs to be that's the data right there. There needs to be absolute and total consequences and a larger cultural conversation about this. This is so much worse than George Floyd. This is worse in every conceivable manner. Let's reset the table here. George Floyd was killed by fentanyl. China and Mexico are far more responsible for George Floyd's murder than a cop in Minneapolis. George Floyd died of an overdose while being arrested for a crime that he was committing. He was using fake currency. So George Floyd's a career criminal. He died because of drugs from China and Mexico. And that's just a matter of fact. Now, where's the national conversation about Austin Metcalf? Where's the national conversation about the most violent subsection of our society? And why are they so violent? I mean, I think there's too many factors to really name here. But fatherlessness, crippling fatherlessness, zero consequences, rage issues that come from broken homes, a culture of absolute toxicity that glorifies death and gangbanging. And if you go back and you really look through the files of where gangster rap comes from, it was designed in order to corrupt young men. And that entire culture, it was designed in order to kneecap that entire subsection of the population. It's demonic in its origins, as is the entire welfare state that rat-trapped these people. go back and look. I mean, just go. I can't repeat there are too many N-words to repeat LBJ's commentary on Black Americans, the guy who created the modern welfare state. So I can't repeat his exact quotes on the stream here. We'll get the stream taken down. But let me just tell you, these people didn't like Black Americans. Black Americans were doing great before the Great Society of the 1960s was implemented. That incentivized fatherlessness, that incentivized no work, that incentivized government housing. If you want to talk about total and complete subsistency and lack of life or options, you want to know where like a deep-seated rage comes from inside of a man. Hopelessness. Hopelessness. So, Carmelo Anthony ain't the victim here. I'm talking about the greater overall problem. How do we get statistics like this? Put up that chart one more time. Put up the chart. Here we go. Black on black or black on white crime. You gotta scroll over, please. Okay, so white. This is homicide. This is homicide rates, correct? Okay. So homicide rates in America. I think black is like 10% of the population. 13% of the population. So with 14% of the population, with this absolutely atrociously outsized number of murders, right? You have a country that's 60% white Americans, 3,000 murders, 14% of the population doing 3,000 murders, killing other. This is also like, you could say Black Lives Matter, because it's actually, 2,500 of those 3,000 are Black Americans. So what's going on, right, with this population? Like, can we actually have an honest, like, data-based conversation about this? How many more people need to die before we can actually talk about these numbers, and then talk about, like, how do you fix this? The answer is obviously going to be spiritual, actually, in nature, because so much of what's happened here has been demonic. But that's for another live. But that's the data, and that's the real problem. And I think part of the as a parent, the easiest way to fix a violence issue. There are violence issues in my family in the sense that, like, kids hit each other and bite each other and stuff, right? This is how kids behave. You fix that with harsher penalties, actually. Bring back the Joe Biden of the 1990s, right? Yeah, okay. Bring back those speeches. You fix that with, like, putting Carmelo Anthony to death. That's what you do. You, like, you make that a big public deal. You start saying, like, you're not allowed to just, this isn't trap. This isn't a flex. Like, your life's over. The state of Texas can do good here, but also immediately the Department of Justice, run by Harmeet Dillon and the Civil Rights Division, needs to investigate this as a hate crime, a hate murder, where a young black man stabbed a young white man out of, like, vengeful hatred. And that needs to be done immediately, ladies and gentlemen. That will begin to send a message that this is not permissible, and then maybe we can start having an actual honest conversation about why this subsection of society is so atrociously violent and broken. And I think that'll be good. Okay, in case you're wondering if I'm going to shy away from this topic, I apologize. We had 3 guests today. There's only so much you can get to. And I didn't want to not talk about this. I do want to talk about this. I think it's an incredibly important conversation. Okay, let's go. I apologize for the rant there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the update, Benny. Don't forget Austin Metcalf. That's right. We have people talking about Austin Metcalf in these super chats, and so I want you guys to know that this is something that I really care about, and that I'm going to be pushing for the death penalty. Yeah. We do a segment on the corruption of family court systems that causes issues like fatherless homes. Yeah, absolutely. The entire American the entire American penal system is set there is no more anti-man and anti-father institution on earth than the court systems here in this country. And it's horrible to men. And it is an awful incentive to become a father. It's an awful, because the system is then so set against you. It's a terrible incentive to actually create fathers and good fathers, because it's almost like everything is set for you to fail from the start. I'm not blackpilling here. I'm just saying these are things that can be fixed. Okay, beautiful family. Are you going to have more babies? Do we have the Donald Trump? Speaking of why I care so much about this, I just showed you a photo of my son. Could you imagine? I'm a father. I cannot imagine some degenerate, loser, scumbag, thug stabs my son or daughter and kills him. It's beyond the realm of fathomable. I'm going to need the actual asset to play, so please grab it. But yeah, I mean, it's what makes me, tell you what, man, you ain't no man if you don't got land, as my grandfather would say. Having children, having land, digs your heels into this soil, and it makes you want to fight in a very, very different way. Because it could have been when I came home, me coming home yesterday. Yeah, me coming home yesterday. I'm going to show you the way my kids treat me when I come home from DC. And answer this question. Sorry, I'm not trying. Sorry, Stephanie Wilson, not trying to blend two things, but the answer is yes. I would love to. The answer is yes. I would love to have more kids. This is how I'm greeted when I come home. My kids ask me, "Why am I dressed like Donald Trump?" Because I'm wearing a suit and a tie, and I rarely do that. Here we go. Why are you in a Donald Trump shirt?
Why are you in a Donald Trump shirt?
This is what Donald Trump wears. This is a Donald Trump shirt. This is life, and I'm here for it, and this is what I fight for, and I'm pretty honest about that. And yes, I'm wearing a Donald Trump shirt, and yes, I'd love to have more babies. Don't tell my wife. But yes, I'd love to have more babies. I just want to say thank you for joining the Benny Brigade, the one and only Ron the Don Smith. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 1 o'clock, and we have to jump to a ton of other work to get ready for the weekend, make sure we have a bunch of coverage. But I want to do this. We're working on an actual segment where we just do super chats all day. And so, not super chats all day, but where we do super chats, because I want to make this far more interactive. And so we're going to be doing this with regularity. We have new stingers and a whole new segment. Maybe we'll do it earlier in the show. I'm not exactly sure. We're going to work on it. But I just want to say thank you again from the bottom of our hearts. Let me grab one or two more of these. Urgent message. The mod case out of South Dakota needs to be blown up. Is the agricultural equivalent of Kyle Rittenhouse case. You need to have the Lonesome Lands podcast guys on your show. Well, we have our executive producers on, and we'll be looking at that. Thank you very much, John Kilbaugh. The mods case out of South Dakota. That sounds like some real Yellowstone Western. Sounds like some Yellowstone Western stuff. But that's cool by me. Lady Trucker says there are companies here in Colorado already using this AI identity verification. I was able to verify it yesterday. I'm worried that I may have to quit my job. Someone please help me. Oh no. AI identity verification? Is this like a voter roll kind of thing? I'm not sure. Lady Trucker is a regular on the channel, and we're a big fan of her. I assume it's her, Lady Trucker, right? Okay. Good morning, Benny Brigade. I'm a truck driver of 13 years. Oh, here we go. Here's the explanation. It's requiring all truck drivers, the FMCSA, requiring all truck drivers and independent drivers to perform an AI identity verification through facial recognition. Could somebody please tell me who authorized this? Help. Yeah, I mean, it's, I can't. We can look into it. I can tell you everything is going that direction. I mean, when you open up your phone and it takes your face, right? Your face is getting mapped on everything. Now, you soon won't be able to fly without having a real ID, which is a full face map and retinal scan. that's coming like in the next 2 years. So, Lady Trucker, this is just going to be the way. This is going to be the way that it goes. And the country has decided that full facial scans. I mean, it's scary stuff, right? If you're a Bible believing Christian, then you're like, well, this is this is a couple steps away from like having the mark of the beast, and you know you'll have to have something printed on you in order to buy and sell. You know, that is coming, right? We are simple Christians and we do believe in the Bible. And so it like, you know, makes your skin crawl. But ultimately, what's the point? The point isn't to like be scared or worried throughout life. The point is that we already have the victory. We've already won as Christians. We will win. And the same power that raised Christ from the dead lives within us every single day. So we have nothing to fear, actually. We are the powerful ones. We are the masters. And Satan loses in the end. So we just keep fighting. Can't defeat an army of happy warriors, especially when they're armed correctly with our verse of the day. He grants a treasure to common sense. He grants a treasure of common sense to be honest. He is a shield to those who walk with integrity, from Proverbs 2:7. We always ask this. You can ask for gifts. You can ask for gifts, and you're silly if you don't ask. You should ask. You can ask for common sense. You can ask for wisdom. What does Mel Gibson ask for in The Patriot? Lord, make me fast and accurate. Lord, make me fast and accurate, right? He's like, that's right. Yep. Standing there in the tree. And, he was fast and accurate. That's right. Took out an entire brigade. In that, I think it's a documentary, actually. I think it was a documentary. I think it was filmed. Yes, that was Ken Burns. That was filmed during the Revolutionary War. Either way, don't care. That's my lore, all right? That's our lore, and you're never going to take it away from us. We love Mel Gibson. You can ask for gifts. You can ask for these things. God wants you to ask. My children ask me constantly for these things. And your relationship as a parent with a child is the same relationship that God has with all of us. That's why God says, let the little children come unto me. Like, do not stop them. Because you got to be like these little children to enter the kingdom of heaven. You can ask for gifts, and you should ask. It's going to be different because everyone needs different things in life. But God's got us, and that's all you need to know. Ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you have a wonderful weekend in this, the greatest country on earth, the United States of America, prouder, stronger than ever. We will win. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
All right, open your boxes. You get a tariff, and you get a tariff, and you get a tariff. Everyone gets a tariff.
You like Huey Lewis in the news?
They're okay.
He's been compared to Elvis Costello, but I think Huey has a far more bitter, cynical sense of humor.
The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest kings. And their dying legacy, media deal weeds. Soon will the Benny Show come to mind. The salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun. We sail for number one. Come to mind, the salt from lives for fun. Leave the gold and bring the gun. We sail for number one. The biggest ships in the sea, all owned by the oldest king.